ITBC, what's the deal? So Andy Ruiz Jr. will be headlining the Unamax card on January 16th. He will be fighting journeyman Danny Batchelder. Some of you remember him. He's been a pro for a while, man. He's a journeyman. He's been in there with guys like Wayman Brewster, James Toney, Brian Minto. Some of you remember that Brian Minto fight, ESPN Friday Night Fights. That fight is actually on YouTube. I expect Andy Ruiz Jr. to win this fight. You know, Batchelder, he actually started his career back in 1996 as a super middleweight. Then he moved up to cruiserweight. I went on YouTube, tried to find, his last two previous losses, and those fights are not on YouTube. He lost to a guy named John Bolden, who is 7 wins, 10 losses, and 1 draw. But please, please, please believe me when I tell you it's a deceptive record for a fighter that is his size and in shape like he is. Out of those 10 losses, he only been knocked out 1 time, and that was to Brian Jennings in his second pro fight. Ironically, that was Brian Jennings' second pro fight also. But I couldn't find too many fights of John Bolden, but I did see some training footage of him. He trains at the Gleason Gym out in New York. Big, strong guy, is in shape. You know, if you look at his losses, they're all close decision losses. There's some fights where he lost split decision losses. So, little deceptive, but he did stop Batchelder. And then Johnny White, some of you remember him from Friday Night Fights. He was an undefeated prospect, lost to Dominic Gwynn, lost to Seth Mitchell and Joe Hanks. And Joe Hanks, ironically, lost to Andy Ruiz Jr. But I expect Ruiz to win this fight, So Batchelder's not a big heavyweight. He's a small heavyweight. Like I said, he used to be a cruiserweight 10 years ago. I'm actually watching the James Toney fight. You can hear it in the background. This was in 2007 after Toney lost those 2 fights to Sam Peter. I thought Toney won that first Peter fight, but this is around that time. Still respectable James Toney, and Batchelder held his own in this fight. But some of his best fights to me are fights that he lost. Ruiz should win this fight going away. Batchelder, one of the fights that he did win previously against a guy named Jamal Woods, that fight's on YouTube. Batchelder at this point, he makes good, he'll make a good prospect look bad, but he'll also make himself look bad against guys who he should beat, like a Jamal Woods. Andy Ruiz, I want to see him step up, man. Now, in BoxRec, he's ranked 30th. I was looking at guys that are rated around him in BoxRec. You have Helenius, rated number 31. Marius Wack, 32. Ustinov, 33. Guys rated ahead of him. Jarek Giles, number 29. Washington's number 28. Jennings is number 27. So all those guys have got chances to get either title shots or been in big fights. Probably minus Jarek Giles, but and Helenius, but shit, Helenius was scheduled to fight Erkin Tepper. That would have been a big step up, but that fight got canceled. But shit, at least it was made and he was going to fight him, you know what I mean? Whereas Ruiz hasn't fought anybody really. Now, if you want to give him the credit for being Liakovic and a former champion, well, it's cool, but Liakovic was champ for 7 months, and that was 8 years ago, you know what I'm saying? So how much credit are we going to keep giving guys for beating Sergey Liakovic, at this point of his career? Andy Ruiz, 26-0 with 17 knockouts. If you go, watch his last couple fights, his weight has been his issue. He turned pro at 297 pounds. His last 2 fights, he's been down to 248 and 247. That's cool. That's where he wants to be. But the thing with that is, both of those fights were 30 days apart from each other. So there was a reason why he was in shape, because he was being active. He hasn't fought since October, so this is going into 90 days. So, who knows? Is he going to balloon back up to 275? Is he going to come in the 240s? Who knows what we're going to get? His fight against Zubano Love was not televised, but it is on YouTube. You search for it. Some guy in the arena taped it, or he must have recorded with his iPad or camera or something. But if you watch the fight, at the 11:59 mark, I'm going to leave the video in my description box. 11:59 mark, Zubano Love hits Ruiz with the overhand right hand after measuring him with the jab. I don't think Batchelder is ever going to be able to do things like that in this fight with Ruiz. But when Ruiz gets in there with a big heavyweight that can get the distance on him and keep him away with the jab, they're going to eat him apart. I mean, they're going to eat him alive, man. They're going to eat him alive because he can turn into a plotter. Although he has, good hand speed, good boxing technique, amateur pedigree. I've heard George Foreman, stamp him and say that, he's a good up and coming fighter. I've heard Evander Holyfield give him a stamp of approval. So I'm not saying he doesn't have the skill, but to maintain at the top level right now, I'm not sure Andy Ruiz is going to be somebody that's going to be a legit contender. He may give some contenders good fights, but I don't think he's going to be a legit contender in the division for what I've seen. But he is undefeated. The Joel Godfrey fight, that fight's here on YouTube. Godfrey went out there, man. He just laid on the ropes and put the high guard up and just laid on the ropes. It wasn't even a rope up. He wasn't even trying to counter. He just literally laid on the ropes and just took all the shots. And, he'll tie Ruiz up and, looking out to the crowd, shaking his head no, like I'm not hurt. And then when he did box in the middle of the ring, he threw one jab at a time and he held. And Ruiz was able to outwork him, but I don't think his power is going to carry him against the big guys in the division. When he really gets up there with the 6'5" guys that outweigh him or weigh as much as him, but they're big muscle guys and they're not just overweight. But Ruiz, whether he comes in at 225 on fight night, I'm not sure he's going to be strong enough to beat some of the top elite level guys that are also big and can, get the range on him, because his power doesn't seem like it's going to mow these guys down. He's a guy that likes to get close and mow you down and fight from mid-range. So I know he tries to fight a guy like Luis Ortiz from mid-range, he's going to get knocked out. But I expect him to dominate Danny Batchelder. I wish I could see those fights because Batchelder has not been stopped in 5 years. So for him to get stopped 2 times in a row, the first time in his career, and he's been a pro since '96. It's almost like is he on a decline. But then what's even more interesting, he has a fight already scheduled for January 30th, 2 weeks after the fight with Ruiz. He has a fight scheduled in where's this place at? The Cypress Bayou Casino in Chariton, Louisiana, against a guy named, I don't even know the guy's name, but he has a fight already scheduled. So I don't know. I expect Ruiz to win this fight, man. I don't know if he'll stop him because Batchelder is hard to stop, although he did get stopped in the last 2 fights. But again, it's deceptive because those guys are, bigger, stronger guys than Ruiz. Ruiz is a better technique and probably a better fighter than John Bolden and Johnny White. But at the same time, those are big, strong guys. Johnny White has a high knockout percentage. John Bolden is a big, strong guy from what I've seen. So I expect Ruiz to win this fight, unanimous decision. But I want to see him step up, man. It's time to step up and really get him a big fight. And when I say big fight, obviously he's not going to fight Klitschko next or Fury. But at the same time, at least Brazil and Washington, at least they fought Amir Mansour. Try to step it up. Ustinov has been in there with Pulev. Wak has been in there with Povetkin. Goes on and on, man. I want to see him step up. YTBC, I'm out.